It's no secret in South Africa that if you want a new car, you have a lot of choice. Not only in terms of models and manufacturers, but also in terms of body style. From sedans to hatchbacks to estates, SAVs, SUVs, MPVs, cabriolets, coupes, four-door coupes. Suzuki even have themselves a thing called an LUV. Google it. And amongst all that noise, there is, of course, the crossover. Which is basically a car that looks like one thing while at the same time feels like another. For example, this Renault Sandero Stepway. The Sandero is a familiar model in South Africa, offering top-class safety in an attractive city driving package. The Stepway takes all of that and adds, well, all of this. The raised ride height, the roof rails, the scuff guards, the wheel arch protection, and a general impression that they've added some off-road ability to the regular Sandero package. If nothing else, it's given it a bit of character. There is something about small cars pretending to be SUVs that I really like. VW's Cross Polo, GWM's C20R, the Toyota Etios Cross, and this thing all have something about them that I can appreciate. Even if they couldn't make it so much as a meter in proper off-road conditions, the attitude they've got makes up for any lack of ability. The Sandero's recently updated styling isn't the most cutting edge, but its various elements, from the blacked-out grille with the oversized Renault logo to the 16-inch wheels, all fit together nicely, and its exclusive blue paint job is particularly pretty. The three-cylinder petrol powering the Stepway is interesting for a few reasons. Firstly, at 898 cc's, it's just over half the size of the previous generation's 1600 petrol. But with 66 kilowatts and 135 newton meters, it's got more power and more torque. And with a fuel consumption figure of 5.2 liters, it is also more efficient. The other interesting thing, Renault don't really shout about the fact that it is such a small engine. In the official press release, for example, not a single word is said about its sub-1 litre capacity. Its three cylinders are mentioned just once. On the other side of that particular coin, the fact that it produces 66 kilowatts is mentioned 10 times. So, does that mean Renault is a little embarrassed about this Stepway's smaller than average package? I don't think so. I think by overstating the output, they're trying to get people to concentrate on the fact that a small engine doesn't necessarily mean small power, and that the value of an engine can actually be measured in efficiency rather than just size alone. And those things are going to become regular features of the motor in future. Besides, as far as this engine goes, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. For starters, the typical three-cylinder sound always adds a little something to the drive because it does a great impersonation of a flat six. The Stepway's power delivery is good, and a good set of gears in the 5-speed manual manages to keep things moving along nicely. It's not going to get you anywhere in a hurry, but what you lose in drag racing thrills, you gain in effortless economy. Even after a week of pure city driving, the return was in the low 7-litre mark. With a little effort, it could quite conceivably get to the low 6s. And this car really wants you to take it easy because it feels like none of its controls have been engineered for any kind of intensity. The steering is over-assisted and numb, the gear shift is a bit rubbery, and because of that taller than usual suspension, there isn't very much confidence in any sort of corner. And that makes things sound unpleasant, which they can be if you try hurry the little Stepway along. Drive it in a respectable manner though, and it's quite easy to live with, even if it isn't the least bit engaging. The crossover genes come in handy when you want to try rougher roads, although there are no specific alterations to the suspension or the running gear to deal with off-road conditions, just a taller stance and the plastic bits protecting the body. You can pick up a new Renault Sandero for around 150,000 Rand, and that might give you the impression that it is a bit entry-level. But the standard spec is very good. Electric windows and mirrors, Bluetooth and USB, satellite controls in the steering wheel for the cruise control. It's even got rear park distance control, and a self-closing tailgate. Although that last bit is the unintentional consequence of one of the weirdest design faults I've ever seen, which I shall now demonstrate. Assume you've just arrived home with a boot full of stuff. You pull the boot release lever, conveniently located next to the driver's seat. The boot pops open. You get out, then close the door, the motion of which forces the boot closed again. And no release button on the boot itself means you're transported back to the 1970s when you're forced to use the key. Other than that oddity, the interior is put together in a way that you'd expect at the price. The spec is a definite highlight, but the materials and the layout are fairly standard. Space is good all round, including the boot, when you can get into it. The Renault Sandero Stepway is a unique package. It combines good looks with an engine that delivers decent power and efficiency, and its long standard spec list means it is a strong value proposition. But it also has a drive that is less than ordinary, which I guess means you get a lot, but for 160,000 Rand, you can't have it all. It may be tiny, but the 3-cylinder turbo in the Sandero Stepway delivers more power and better efficiency than the previous generation. The 5-speed manual is the only gearbox option. It is a decent looking thing with good space and very impressive standard spec, but there's not a lot of fun to be had in the drive.